right. Well, good to see everybody. I think we're ready. Do we need a second to go live?
Can you hear me? You're good to go.
Yes. Are we good, Melissa?
You're good. Can you hear me?
All right. Thank you so much. Okay. Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Executive Committee meeting of December 3rd of the Northern Virginia Transportation Commission. We are starting this meeting at 5:36 by my calendar. We are, of course, conducting this meeting electronically due to the COVID-19 emergency, so please let it be known that our commission staff followed all procedures and guidelines in the enabling legislation to give notice to the commission, to the staff, and the public. This meeting is simultaneously being streamed to the public on YouTube. Thank you, team, for enabling all of that. Of course, if you could mute your microphone, and as always, the chat function is available for technical questions. Please don't use it to conduct business. So we'll go ahead and start, as long as everyone's amenable, with the audit statement to allow Mr. Bureker from PB Mares, who is also presenting to our colleagues at PRTC and then presenting to our main commission meeting. So Dwight, we're going to have you present to this committee first so that you can get on your way in that game of musical chairs. And first, let's just do a brief roll call. Kate, over to you for that.
Absolutely. So Chair Crystal.
Here.
Mr. Aguirre.
Here.
Mr. Letourneau.
Present.
Mr. McKay. Mr. Meyer.
Present.
Mr. Smedberg. I can see him. Mr. Smedberg.
Here. Present.
Fantastic. Thank you. And Mr. Snyder. I don't think I see any other commissioners attending. And just for the record, the staff that are present, obviously me, Kate Mattice, our Director of Finance and Administration, Scott Calkworth, our Web and IT Manager, Melissa Walker, and from PB Mares, Dwight Bureicher.
All right. Thank you very much, Kate.
All right.
And Dwight, you know, it seems like your last name would be very easy to pronounce, and yet, as I find myself doing it, I'm realizing I'm not sure. Is it Bureicher? Bureicher?
Bureicher. That's how it's Bureicher.
Okay, now I've got that right for the full
That's
commission.
okay.
So welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. He is here to give us a presentation on the fiscal 2020, so the year we've just closed audit. And then, of course, we'll be welcoming you back to give a brief presentation to the full commission. Scott, do you want to introduce PB Mares and the team, tee up this presentation for us?
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Madam Chair. So Dwight Bureicher is here, obviously representing our audit firm, PB Mares. Dwight is a partner with PB Mares, and he's also the partner in charge of the NVTC and VRE audits, and also several other audits in the area. So he's going to review the results of NVTC's audits with the executive committee, who will be acting as our audit committee, and answer any questions that you may have. So thank you for being here, Dwight. Go ahead.
Thanks, Scott, for the introduction there, and thanks, Kate and Scott, for the audit this year. You know, we started this back, I guess it was in June when we had prelim, and it was the first remote audit one of the first few remote audits that we've done, one of the first in my career. So just to let everyone know, that went very smoothly. A lot of Zoom meetings, screen sharing that we had to do in order to test controls to make sure things were still operating as effectively as they were prior to the COVID pandemic and everyone, you know, sheltering in place and staying at home. So Scott and your staff, you know, they did a great job there, maintaining those controls and making sure everything operated as well as possible during this time. So just wanted to point that out to everyone. Hopefully you had a chance to take a look at the financial statements that were sent out. There's only several pages in the financial statements that belong to PB Mares. There's 3 opinions that we issue. There's an opinion on the financial statements, an opinion on internal controls, and an opinion over federal compliance funding that's received at NVTC. All 3 of those opinions are unmodified, which is the highest opinion we can issue as auditors, and a clean opinion. You may hear it referred to as a clean opinion. So another great year there for NVTC. One item I will point out that's a change from last year in the financial statements is we do report the I-395 funding that was received in FY20 for the first time. So that's included. If you're want to look in the report on pages 17 and 18, you'll see there's a new fund added for to report the revenue and the expenses associated with that. And also page 55 of the report, we added a supplemental schedule to show how that allocation, the allocation of that funding was done between NVTC and PRTC, because each commission kind of determines how that money is going to be spent on an allocation. So that's the only new items in the financials to point out this year. The rest of the financials are status quo from prior years. So, and if there's any questions on the financials, I'll take those now. Or
Great. Can pause for those. Do other members of the Executive Committee have questions on that financial report in particular? All right, hearing none, I think we can continue.
And so, there was also two other reports that were issued. A management letter that we issue annually. This year, the only thing included in the management letter relate to upcoming GASB pronouncements that may impact NVTC. And staff, Scott, they're currently evaluating those to see how reporting may be affected in future years for the commission. So that was included in the management letter. And then also there's a report that's addressed to the commission board members, referred to annual SAS letter, and included in that letter are just items that state there was no journal entries, there was no disagreement with management, management was prepared and ready on time. So kind of some boilerplate language that's issued annually. So that's what's included in that report. So if anyone has questions on those, feel free.
Questions on that one? Okay. I think it's because the summary documents are so complete that you said in advance that we could have no questions left by the time we speak with you. Is that conclude, or you had the one other?
No, that concludes my presentation. The 3 reports that we issue each year. So obviously, so.
All right, we appreciate that very much. In this case, relatively no news or few changes is always good news. I think we could give you the opportunity to skedaddle over to PRTC, and we'll look forward to welcoming you back to the full commission in a matter of hours. So thank you.
Okay, thank you, Katie. Thanks, everyone. Appreciate it.
Great. Okay, so I think that brings us then to the rest of our regular agenda for the Executive Committee. Before you, I hope, should be the summary of our meeting in November. And I want to provide an opportunity for any corrections that people might have or questions. We don't need formal action, but if there's any bit of the record you'd like to correct, here's the forum to do that. Okay, so hearing none, Kate, could you just preview for us our agenda for this evening?
Absolutely. And so first of all, we did receive one public comment that was shared with the commission in advance. It was noting concerns about the Metro budget. I know that there'll be a lot of conversation about this evening. So we do have a lot on the agenda tonight. We do have our consent agenda includes our electronic meeting resolution. It also does put together, and hello, Mr. Snyder, I see you there, so I'll note you arriving, thank you. And so we do have our 2021 meeting schedule. Just as a reminder, we will not be doing a meeting in Richmond in February. We will be doing it virtually. We expect we'll be doing virtually for the foreseeable future. We will not plan on having a meeting in April so that we don't have to conflict with a lot of different things that are happening in April. Again, you just had a briefing about our audit, so you'll be presented with our financial statement audit. For action, we do have the 2020 report on the performance and condition of WMATA. That is something that we had an extensive conversation about last month. We've incorporated changes, so we'll just do a quick little highlight on that to be able to send that to the Governor and the General Assembly. We also have our 2021 legislative and policy agenda. Again, lots of conversation last month. We've incorporated those changes. So again, we'll be presenting that for approval. There are 5 VRE action items, their audit and their legislative agenda, as well as a parking garage agreement related to Manassas Park that was deferred from last month. And then the two big agreements that we sent forward to you for the Virginia Passenger Rail Authority, both for operations access and then also for rail improvements and funding. And then, of course, we do have our routine check-in with our WMATA board members. And so we're happy to see both of them obviously here and going to be speaking to the budget. We are going to be having staff present to you our updated regional fare collection strategic plan. This is something that at our staff are very involved with our jurisdictional staff on having a uniform approach to upgrades related to Smart Trip and otherwise. So this is being presented for comment this month, and then it would be action next month. We do have a brief orientation on VRE, especially for our newer commission members. That is right in advance of the VRE actions. And then we have also then a presentation from DRPT on the 495 American Legion Bridge Transit and TDM study. I know many of you received a briefing from VDOT on the highway improvements. This is going to be specifically focused on the transit improvements. So there's a lot going on this evening. We'll keep the energy high, but that's what we have for this evening.
Thanks, Kate. Pretty sure that WMATA section of the discussion should be reliable in keeping the energy high. Okay. Any comments or just queries about the agenda coming up? And these many action items. We should probably all follow our vice chairman's lead and caffeinate before the meeting. All right. Great. And then just a brief sort of reminder. I think you all saw Kate's email go out to the full board, sort of summarizing our consensus of the officers with regard to officers and committee chairs for next year. So we sort of wanted to float that, right, and try to do it in a way where it was from Kate. So if anybody had objections, they maybe had a more diplomatic way to do that rather than raising them with me. But the actual vote won't be until January. So we've tried to just create a little bit of opportunity for people to share comments or concerns so that the first time they see that proposal of keeping everyone in their current leadership roles won't be in January. But as a reminder too, we also invited folks, if they have preferences, that they'd like to see their committee assignments change. If they'd like to join a new committee or roll off a committee, we invited them to let us know that this would be a good opportunity to do that. And as a reminder, there's a link in Kate's email that had all of our committee assignments in case it's been a long and weird year. If you've forgotten which committees you're on, that is completely understandable. So that link can help refresh your memory. Does anybody else have comments or questions? I know we talked about this a little bit in our closed session of the executive committee last month. All right, you all are easygoing this month. Okay, so the only other item we have is just upcoming commission activities. So Kate, we got a good one to preview. Over to you.
We do. And so just within the next week, we actually have two big NVTC events. On Monday, we have our annual legislative briefing with PRTC. And of course, it's virtual this year. And actually, as a benefit of that, we have both Senator Warner and Senator Kane and Secretary Valentine, as well as Paul Wiedefeld, Rich Dalton, Bob Schneider, me, and Monica Backman. So it's going to be a full morning. It is a webinar format, but everybody's invited to participate. We'll be doing a moderated Q&A for each of those sections. So we're really delighted to have that. And of course, Chair Crystal, as well as Chair Franklin, will be kicking things off and keeping us through the morning of events. We also do on Tuesday evening, we actually have the legislative mandated joint meeting with NVTA, VRE, CTV, DRPT, and VDOT, and any other acronym we can possibly throw in there. It's basically the opportunity to share what transportation projects are going on in Northern Virginia. So we're going to be focusing on the commuter choice program. So that's an evening public meeting, again, virtually. And so I'll be presenting at that. And then really, looking to the new year in January, we do anticipate we're going to be keeping these meetings virtual for as long as makes sense. We do not necessarily have a heavy action agenda for January, but one of the things that I'm exploring is actually having a special guest come in and talk about sort of the future and state of public transit in the U.S. I've actually invited a former colleague of mine, so I'm just tying that up. Her name's Beth Osborne, and she's Transportation for America, fantastic speaker. And so I thought that'd be really great to do a little bit of a what happened in 2020 NVTC overview, and then for her to give us a look ahead, especially because our January 7th, it's right in the middle of what's happening in Congress before the new administration. So I think she can really provide a wonderful framework for us to kick off 2021. So hopefully that's a good thing.
That's great, Kate. I know we've asked you, to present us with a crystal ball. So it seems like you.
I know.
As close as you can.
I'm
That's really
to do
exciting.
that. I'm going to defer to somebody else who can, skedaddle away on that. So
That's great. I'll really look forward to that.
yeah. And of course, the other thing we'll be doing presenting to this body is going to be our preliminary look at our administrative budget. We asked to defer that. We have not seen new numbers yet from DRPT, but our plan is right now, we'll expect to see them in the next couple of weeks. So we'll be bringing to executive committee a budget conversation in January and then bringing it to the full commission in February.
Great. Thank you. Thanks for that reminder about what to expect. Okay. Any questions for Kate? Hope everybody's looking forward to that Monday briefing. Should be great. Okay. Well, unless anyone has anything else, we can go ahead and wrap up a few minutes early. Everyone can enjoy their dinner, perhaps at a more leisurely pace. Any final thoughts? Okay, seeing none, as a reminder, I think you all know this drill now, but we do have a different WebEx link. So if you don't have a separate WebEx link from the one you're dialed into now, please do send a note to Kate or Melissa, and you can find that on the agenda. And for those of us who might be watching those of you who might be watching us online, you can of course find the live stream link on the YouTube channel for NVTC. We will be trying to start promptly at 7 p.m. So if that means dialing in at about 7 or 6:55, so we can do that, that'd be great. Okay, one final call. Any other questions or comments? All right, see you all at 6:55. Thanks.